Yes, it's still me. I hope you didn't miss me for the last 10 seconds. But I'm only here again to introduce Alex Nourouzi, the Communication Service Product Marketing Director at Orange Group. So it's great to have you here, Alex. Welcome for multiple reasons. Well, first is I know Alex for a while, but apart from the personal one, it's great to have Orange here. We called this session the Pioneer, and it is true. I mean, the RCS events, you go back in history, really started with some of European company. Orange was one of those at the very beginning, a big voice in this project. And also, kind of nice to link to the last announcement, but there has been discussions for some players that are trying to work together, interconnections. Now, you, as we mentioned before, also might mention what you're doing with your existing relationship with Google as well. So great to have you here. Sorry, we've eaten some of your time.
No problem at all.
But first, I'd like to know, we have some presentation from you, so you can tell us a bit more about the history and what's happening with Orange and RCS, right?
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, first of all, Dario, for inviting me to speak at your prestigious event, and congratulations. It's been a big success. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I hope everybody's safe and well. I've been working on RCS at Orange now for probably too long now, but I can say a few words certainly around what we've been doing on RCS in the past, what our views are around partnering with Google, what some of our plans are, and what we think the next step should be for other operators. Okay, perfect. You can see the slides. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. So, as Dario said, we're pretty much pioneers of RCS. We helped to create the standard, pushed it to the GSMA back in 2008. More recently, we decided to partner with Google, and I think we're starting to make some progress, some impact. We've launched in 20 markets to date. A customer base tripled in 2020. We're at over 15 million monthly active users. We should hit that magical kind of 30%. That's my understanding of the magic figure that the brands need to see from across our total base in many of our European markets by the end of 2021. We've already launched in Spain. We're going to launch in a couple of other markets in 2021. You'll hear from both Orange Spain and from Orange France during the European Roundtable later today. And we've been launching Orange Bots in a number of markets, over 10 markets to date. Okay. And this isn't the first time we've tried to launch RCS. I think that you probably know Join. I'm personally trying to forget it, but certainly this is our first attempt about 10 years ago when we launched in Spain. What was interesting at the time was WhatsApp was basically not really registering as a potential threat to the SMS P2P market, and of course, 10 years later, it's probably the most widely used application in Spain. Yeah, so the first round was not particularly good for us. In Spain, we closed the service down. That was subsequently followed by 4 or 5 other operations in Europe. But the key thing is we learned a number of lessons. The fact that we need to build upon SMS, make RCS and SMS. So that's the first point. Secondly, I think we had a number of disparate features, not just messaging, but also video and enriched calling. We had a lack of engagement from the OEMs to build a customer base. We had a number of technical issues, and testing interoperability in NNI was a huge challenge. So around the same time, all of this happened, and we were closing our services. I think a couple of key game changers happened, and first of all, Google's acquisition of Jibe, which was the leading cloud provider of RCS services back in 2015, and their drive to universal profile 1.0, the simplification, the reduction in options, the fact that we had clients that OEMs could embed. We have a client that customers like. We could seed the customer base. We're building upon the SMS usage as well. I think it resolved a lot of the issues, together with the fact that we can offer backend, P2B backend, and hubbing for free. And then, of course, the evolution of the UP UP1 to UP2 to cover all of the bots features, and I think that has allowed operators to position RCS also into the as an evolution of the SMS ATP, and obviously have direct revenues associated with that. I'm going to quickly show you a slide that talks about how that changed the business case with the launch of Join, and then subsequent with the new version of RCS with the arrival of Google. So this is from one of our markets that we launched. This is the kind of the cost of the P2P RCS costs after 18 months of launch. In this with Join, it took around three years to launch. It was the first service to work on an IMS based platform that triggered a number of costs. We're the first operator in that market to get to market. After 18 months, the fact that we didn't actually build upon the SMS usage, we only had 300 monthly active users. So the cost per customer was incredibly high. With the arrival of Google, it's a simple integration project. It took a few months to integrate all of the various different APIs. The costs were just simple manpower costs. The fact, I think the key point is seeding the base and actually building upon the SMS. And we had over 200,000 monthly active users after 18 months. Yeah, and you can see totally reflects in terms of the cost per monthly active user. Add in the second game changer we talked about before, which is really the positioning of bots and the UP2 client, meant that we actually had some direct revenues and not to give a positive business case. Of course, now I understand. So overall, basically, we're happy with Google as a partner. I think that they've made some decisions, as was mentioned in the previous presentation, around interconnection, which we don't think is the right decision at all. And that's why I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a solution on top of what Google is offering through their APIs, through the Remro API. So David Fouqueret, who's the head of the technical program at Orange Group, will talk a little bit more about this at the European Roundtable. So what we want to try and do is gain control, as much control as possible, and to have an Orange branded service, as well as being able to push some of our key enablers for identity and payments to have a really enriched, good end-to-end experience, a conversational commerce experience. So from a customer's point of view, we've already launched an Orange directory that allows our customers to discover our bots. We have the verified by Orange tick mark, and then they'll be able to add in, or the aggregators will be able to easily add in direct carrier billing and mobile connect into the conversational commerce experience. From the aggregators point of view, our entry point is the Orange developer portal onto the RCS onboarding portal. Our particular middleware provides our own CDR, so we can generate our own CDRs and build an Orange bill. Okay, we've got a number. We did a number of demos at Mobile World Congress over the last few years, and you can click through and see how this kind of Orange experience might work. In terms of the kind of use cases, because obviously we think that this really builds upon our RCS SMS and really moves our RCS takes SMS notifications into a genuine kind of enriched multimedia conversational commerce experience. So what does that mean in terms of the use cases that we're dealing with? So first of all, we're doing quite a lot of Orange bots, internal bots, but of course third-party bots as well. So internally, we think it's really important to educate our customers around RCS bots. They don't necessarily know what RCS bots are. So we launched something called the Welcome Bot, or the tutorial, to introduce customers to the new features of RCS and bots. The direct marketing teams is probably the most important of all of the internal departments. They send millions of SMSs a year to our own customers to entice them to take our great services, Orange services. We've done a number of campaigns in a number of countries, and we've really seen some dramatically improved interaction rates, click-through rates, 34% in Mali in the campaign we did recently. Content bots transforming some of the for the countries where we still have Orange branded services, via SMS or IVR, transforming those over onto bots. The care teams, we're starting to engage with them as well, and I'll go into a little bit more detail about this Dunning use case during the How to Make Money session later on this afternoon. An emergency credit, that's a service within the MEA markets where when a customer runs out of credit, they get triggered an ISMS today to top up, and we'll be rolling out that for RCS, so it gives us more options. And of course, the key market is on the third party. I think Mobile Squared talked about the value of the market being $21 billion a year and growing. So obviously, that's absolutely critical to address that market. Obviously, the COVID crisis in 2020 saw a huge spike in our SMS ATP traffic, which is great. 20 to 30%, I think that Mobile Squared said. But it wasn't just SMS that benefit from there. I think there's also Facebook and WhatsApp in particular has been really benefiting from that as well. It's not really a surprise that they're moving into the business messaging. I think that Mark Zuckerberg has been eyeing up the creation of a e-commerce type platform for WhatsApp for a few years now. We've seen a number of we've seen a lot of work on integration of across those various different platforms to offer a slicker customer experience for customers to liaise with businesses. They've provided through their various different communications and quarterly reviews, financial reviews, various different numbers in terms of how e-commerce and business messaging has exploded in 2020, and will probably continue to do so in 2021. Now today, WhatsApp is obviously targeting more on the P2A and on the notifications through templates, but obviously things might change in the future. On the notification, the templates, we're also starting to see some price reductions. Here, this is an example in Mexico. They moved to a flat rate, a 24-hour period for messaging, pretty similar prices to SMS. Okay, so where does that leave? Where does that leave us today, mobile operators? I think first of all, we believe now is the time to act. From my understanding, in most markets, certainly in Europe, we'll be getting close to that 30% magic figure where the whole customers will be on RCS. That is today, my understanding, the biggest barrier to RBM is the lack of reach, be it mobile operators, and a lack of penetration of RCS. If operators launch, then we will probably hit that 30% in many of those developed markets. That's the first point. So we believe it makes sense to engage with Google, where they have a competitive contract, and start to commercialize RBM. There is an offer on the table, and I think we should seize that offer before that offer is removed. Secondly, engage with those brands, engage with those aggregators. They're all keen to launch pilots with you, learn, and build from there. You've heard from some of the vendors out there. They are providing map platforms that sit on top of the Google Roma API that gives you that element of control that certainly at Orange we think is important, and it gives you an operator branded service as well. The final point, I think it's really important that the operators can collaborate within kind of an antitrust rules where it's permitted. Certainly in France, the operators meet up through the SMS consortium called the AF2M to discuss RCS. I know that the MEF has organized events such as in Germany a year ago, and I'm sure that Dario, if you talk to him nicely, will be very happy to organize these sorts of events to help to facilitate the discussions around some of the issues around the charging models. I think that Infobip expressed some concerns at the GSMA was 13 last week on that. The verification, I think, there's a presentation on that later on. It makes a lot of sense for operators to collaborate on that. The onboarding side, again, I think we just heard from Synchronous around the importance of that will be to align on the onboarding side, and even just the naming and working together on events. And then, of course, internal bots, we think is very, very important. There are lots of the bot developers that have been presenting or part of the MEF that you can engage with and start to discuss those with your internal teams, internal direct marketing teams and care teams. Pilot those bots. You can do that relatively quickly. Learn and experiment and scale up. So we believe that certainly lessons will be learned from our first attempt at launching RCS. And I'm sure that collectively we can make this success on round 2. That's it. Please come back to questions now or later. Or I've given my email address, my contact number. Please, this is a two-way discussion, and we're happy to.
You're brave, Alex. You put your your email out there, and I'm sure they'll take advantage of it.
Please do.
But there is a great sense of let's get together and let's do something. I read in between the lines of what you're doing, Alex. So that's a nice message to have. We'll hear more of that as well in the roundtable later on today. We're running a bit late, and we have Catherine Maguire from Engage talking about one of those examples of how RCS can really help us. Ian will take us through that, and Oxfam is the example this time. So stay tuned. But Alex, even if you're running late, I just want to have one question I'll take from you, which is probably actually have more than one. So I'll have to pick one. Sorry, and it goes back to probably what you highlighted in terms of your relationship with Google. Visit from Walter Wellauer says, is it acceptable for your business customers, that's business customers, using basically a Google solution in terms of security, data protection, etc.? So that's a great question for you.
Sure. I mean, we've signed a contract with Google. I think our legal teams have reviewed obviously for us to sign that in terms of from a GDPR point of view, and I think we have all of the assurances that certainly we got for that. Like I said, on top of that, we're building our own solution that David Foucault will talk a little bit more on that, because it's even more control and will allow us to have all of the bot credentials sitting on our own bot info servers that gives even more control and more compliance.
So great. You heard the director from Alex. It can be done. It's done. Is happy with it. And Alex, I'm sure you want more development in the industry that's coming next. I'll ask you more about it. Our conversation should probably not finish now on what can be done. But I'm afraid that our time for this session is gone. So it's a big thank you for you, Alex, and all the work you've been doing. And if you have questions, you ask them directly in your email through us. And by the way, we're going to have Orange later on, as well as Orange Group. Also, David
will be back
presenting. So thanks again, Alex. Thanks for your whistle tour about Orange and your 13 years of history on RCS. Thanks again.
Thank you very much.